Hello everyone, this is me Debashis for Revsportz. I am with someone who is a legend in his own right. Means he won the European Cup for Aston Villa. I am in Birmingham, so I thought of meeting this legend, and I am with Kenny. Kenny, just talk us about. Means you had a long spell in Chelsea, but would you say the highlight of your career was your stint at Villa?
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, because of the success that we had, certainly the success I had, and victories and winning things, don't come easy. And that was without a doubt the highlight of my career. And I have to say, those first 5 years at Chelsea was a good grounding. It was a very young team that I was involved with. And also, they'd lost some really, really superstar players, Chelsea, because of financial problems. And I always felt that I was a footballer, a professional footballer at Chelsea. But having joined Aston Villa, and within the first week, I realised I am now a professional footballer. There was a different culture, a different mindset, a different expectation level. And I think that's why we did so well, because everybody was so focused. It was so competitive. Nobody wanted to give up their shirt. Everybody wanted to play week in, week out. And I've got to say, there were times when it was touch and go whether you were fit or not, but you just didn't want to lose your shirt, and that was the big difference.
What would you say about the current squad? Means under Unai Emery.
I think he's getting very, very close to what we were all about. The squad I was in. And what I did realise after a while was no individual is going to win or be successful for you. You have to do it all as a team. So the work ethic and the team ethic was really, really strong at Villa, and everybody pulled the weight. And I think if there was one reason that we were successful, I would say it was probably because we felt we could outrun, we could outplay, we could outlast the opposition. And I think that was a particularly strong feature in our success that year.
Talking about Unai Emery, how do you see him as a manager of the side?
Unai has done a fantastic job. He's only been there 2 years, 3 years coming up now. And I mean, he's totally turned it round in that time. And if you look at the trajectory from when he arrived to when, even to just to the end of the season now, if you think about the trajectory, it's been on a steady incline. It's not gone up massively, but it's just steadily gone up. And I suppose getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League this year was an immense sort of challenge. And to have got to that stage and playing the likes of PSG, who obviously eventually won it, but they were without doubt, one of the best teams I've seen in the Champions League.
Kenny, talking about that great season, 1981-82 season, Ron Saunders, he just parted way midway into the season, and Tony Burton led you into the European Cup final. How did the players deal with that situation?
We've often talked about this, even if it's publicly or otherwise. We were all shocked, absolutely shocked. There was no sort of hint, no evidence beforehand that when he decided to go, that was it. He walked out, and it shook all of us, to be honest. But having said that, we were in work the next day. We were in for training, got changed. What's happening. They'd obviously put a plan in place by introducing Tony Barton, who was his assistant at the time. He became the temporary manager, and in all fairness to him and to give him credit, he didn't mess around with the squad too much. He didn't mess around with team selection. We were a well-oiled machine, and I think that was probably the one thing that he looked at and thought, maybe I shouldn't meddle too much with this. Once you start tinkering about with things, maybe things start to fall apart. He kept it going really, really smoothly. But equally, that was a tribute to the players as well, because of their sort of their culture that they'd engineered over the previous years.
Can you talk back about that 1981-82 season? Means obviously at that time Bob Paisley's Liverpool were regarded as a dynasty. Means obviously they were so strong. Means and to be winning that European Cup that year, how big an achievement was it?
Well, when you're talking about Bob Paisley, he is a true legend and a true sort of. you know, he's in that league with Brian Clough. He's in that league with Alex Ferguson, and even some of the foreign managers now, like Jose Mourinho, has done really, really well in this country. He was. Give me the question again.
Yeah. I'm talking about means that Liverpool
Oh,
side.
the Liverpool side. Yeah, and I think for us in particular, I was getting carried away there with Bob Paisley being so brilliant as he was. Liverpool were always in that period were always the yardstick to measure yourself by, and we had I think we had one or two good results and certainly performances against Liverpool where we matched them, maybe hadn't won the game, and then other times when we've just like mauled Liverpool. So they were the yardstick for all of us, and not just Aston Villa, but I think everybody who was challenging for for that title. And Liverpool were an immense club then, and as they are now.
And obviously, was there a belief in the side that it could actually go on to beat Bayern Munich?
Yeah, and you've used an amazing word there, that when you're talking about belief, because I think there's two things that determine the outcome of football matches. One is belief, and the other one is fear. Too much fear in your body, too much fear in your head, you've got no chance. Too much belief beyond your expectations and beyond your capabilities. If you've got belief, you've got a real strong chance of being successful. And I think that was something else that Villa had in that sort of like 4-year period I was there. It was it was evident in training every day, in social, even in our social get-togethers. We did believe.
And what was that? What was special about that Villa team, and who were the strong characters then?
I think I can't say anybody was a particularly strong character above or on a par with others, but certainly there was a younger element of the team. Gordon Cowans, Gary Shaw, Gary Williams, Colin Gibson. These were all the younger players, and then there was this older brigade, including myself, of Jimmy Rimmer, the goalkeeper, Ken McNaught, Dennis Mortimer, who's a schoolboy colleague of mine as well. We were the older lot, but the blend was right. So in terms of characters, then you probably wouldn't see the older players perform and behave like the younger ones, and equally the younger ones couldn't find it hard to stick to the rules now and again.
How did someone who started his career as a striker ended up playing a fullback at the end of the season? End of the career, rather.
Yeah, well, I think when I was at Chelsea, I remember thinking a couple of times, we were losing games, and I looked at some of the instances where we lost, and I remember saying to Graham Wilkins, keep him on the outside, Graham. It's cost us a goal today, but you showed him inside, and I was talking and thinking like a coach, and I'm really just a teammate. But I did think, I'm sure I could do that job. Not that it ever came to me at Chelsea, but I think the change at Villa was brought about by circumstances. They had a great fullback, John Gibman, who had left or was leaving, and Ron Saunders said, "I can see you fitting in there. This'll suit you. You've been an attacking player anyway." And of course, he gave me a great lift when he said, "Let's see how you go after 6 games, and we'll have a chat about it." And I thought, blimey, he's going to pick me for 6 games. Nobody gets guaranteed a game apart from your next game. That's it. That's the only guarantee in football, is your next game, if you've selected. But anyway, after about 6 games, we had a chat on the back of the coach coming back from a game, and he said, "Look, I think you've done well. How do you feel?" I said, "Yeah, I've been comfortable with it." He said, "Well, look, I'll be looking for a fullback if you want to continue playing up front, or if you want to play fullback, I'll be looking for a striker to replace you up front." So I stuck with it.
Can you your thoughts on the ongoing Club World Cup?
I have little thoughts for it, to be honest. And when you're thinking now that here we are now in July, and July, or the first couple of weeks in July, that's when we'd be normally starting back training. Now, irrespective of the money and all the rest of it, the razzmatazz that goes with it, to expect players to go through, particularly your best players, your best prospects, for them to go through a season playing 60 odd games, 70 games, and then, barely have a week or a couple of weeks off. I just can't see the logic in there. I think players really need to be understood in terms of, you know, their workload. This is a day in, day out physical occupation, and it's like a boxer who trains immensely hard. Boxers really work hard, but then they get a good time off, you know, to recover, you know, for the body to recover. Yes, they do like to keep ticking over. We all like to keep ticking over, but then where is the gap? Where is the break in all of this? And I just think this might be one step too far. But like everything in football, it's all to do with money, and so it might be here to stay. I don't know.
What on Todd Bowley's ownership in Chelsea?
Um, Todd, he's not he's not soft. He's an American businessman, that's for sure. And he saw an opportunity there, which he's taken with both hands. He's probably got his fingers burnt in the early days, but I think Chelsea are back to close to where they were before. And I really do think, you know, he's probably getting himself sorted out now by surrounding himself with reliable sort of lieutenants, advisors, people who could recommend things, people who've got some reliability in their judgments. And so it doesn't surprise me that this younger element now of the Chelsea players were struggling a year or two ago, but I think they're getting together now, and you know, they're only going to get better.
Finally, means obviously, in a glittering career, what has been the highlight for you?
I've got to say, without doubt, that night in Rotterdam. It was an amazing, just an amazing event, and I'm not just saying the football, but when we're on the coach and we're going to the game, and we pull up outside the stadium, and you know, it wasn't a fantastic crowd. There was about 40,000 people there that night, but nevertheless, you know, seeing the hullabaloo that was going on around the ground, and then we all get off the coach, go through to the change room, drop your bags and everything, and out onto the pitch, and the players were just. They had mini cameras in those days, and they're just taking pictures of each other and trying to take photographs of their wives or their girlfriends up in the stand, and it just felt like a day out. I didn't think it was anything to do with football. It was like, oh, it's great over here, isn't it? We're having fun. The weather's lovely. We've just got a bit of a battle on our hands forthcoming.
That was the moment.
I was fighting my way up the stairs to get my hands on that trophy. I was even more desperate to get hold of it than Dennis Mortimer, our captain. But anyway, it was his privilege as the captain, and I couldn't get my hands off it. Edinburgh, who was at Chelsea. This was a foundation game, a charity game, and never forgot it.
That's you, the statue.
And this is my wife and I on our wedding day. That's barely, 3 minutes before we kick off. When people just wanted to do photographs, etc.
Yeah. Can you just do a bit of commentary? What was this picture all about?
This is about a moment in your life, and this was a moment in my life. This was a very special moment. This was within 3 seconds of Peter With scoring the winning goal against Bayern Munich in the Champions League final or the European Cup. And I think I was first to congratulate with Des Bremner, my colleague, and we were the first round his neck, and that was within 3 seconds of the goal being scored. So this is like a moment it's a moment in life for me. That's the league championship winners in 80-81 season. This one here is the European Cup the following year. These are all special.
Yeah.
And this is a friend of mine who he was a bit of an artist, a bit of a designer, who was tracking my career and basically gave me that for I think it was my 50th birthday. And gave me that for my 50th birthday present. With the clubs and the organisations I've worked with over that time. Typical I would say a typical penalty appeal by Liverpool, which we suffered. This is me in the background here, and I think I was supposed to have tripped Ronnie Whelan, and it was 2 minutes to go in a Liverpool match at Anfield, and he gave a penalty against me, and he got absolutely mobbed by our players. 2 minutes to go, but that wasn't uncommon in those days. Liverpool getting a penalty in the last minute. But I remember that's a favourite photograph of mine. And this is, we'll never forget that. That was the World Cup final in 1966 when I was returning from holiday in England on the south coast, and just got back in time in Liverpool to watch the game. A game anybody from England will never ever forget. And this was my wife, who used to work for the Beatles back in the day.
Oh, wow.
In the 60s.
Fantastic.
And this was her as a schoolgirl outside the cabin.
So that was Kenny Swain exclusively on Revsportz. So keep watching this space to get all the updates throughout our coverage from the India-England series. This is me, Debashis, signing out for Revsportz. Keep watching.